everyone. Welcome back inside Central Health Training Center for another episode of Broncos Now. As always, I'm your host, Sydney Jones. And coming up on today's episode, we'll hear from head coach Sean Payton, quarterback Russell Wilson, and the coordinators as they're set to face the Chiefs on Thursday night. Plus, Broncos lead writer Eric Dellala joins the show for a game preview. All that and more coming up. The Denver Broncos hit the road on Wednesday to head to Kansas City for their first primetime matchup of the season. Head coach Sean Payton spoke following Tuesday's practice to talk about where the team is at mentally given the short week.
One thing to note, and we should do these studies, but if I gave you Sunday halftime lead win percentage, so the normal time slot games on Sunday, winning at the half, who wins the game, it's probably in the 60-some percentile. What's unusual is on Thursday nights, it spikes. So I just finished talking about fast start. It's important. Look, I asked the question, Patrick just answered it. I don't know how long they played Thursdays, but I think it goes back to 2006, and then gradually it's expanded. So, get ready to go.
Sean Payton and quarterback Russell Wilson also talked about the team's work they put in this week and how they feel like they prepared.
We're going into week 5, so we have a little bit more body of work on, again, the cut-ups we're going to look at tonight, for instance, in the red area will be their prior games this season and all of last season. And periodically we'll go further back, like specifically for maybe something we're looking for. So I think, to answer your question, I don't know that it matters that they just played the Jets, but certainly we have that film and the Viking film and their prior games. And one of the things, I like to do is look at there's this data board in my office, and I'll just kind of look at, all right, all last season, who rushed the ball well, who converted. So we have all these plays, but sometimes you go right to that game and, what was it someone did specifically in an area, red zone, third down. It just depends. But it is a quick turnaround, and, we get ready to go.
We had a great day today. We had a great day yesterday. All the guys came in really kind of we all kind of spent a lot of time together watching film and getting prepared, watching the game from before, and then also watching our opponent this week. And so I think a lot of it has been our preparation. That's always the key in Thursday night games, is how well you prepare. And obviously everybody's a little beat up and everything else, but I think the best thing you can do is go out there and more than anything else, play with great emotion, play with great focus, play with great passion. And just stay focused on our task, and that's to go 1-0 this week.
We also heard from both offensive coordinator Joe Lombardi and defensive coordinator Vance Joseph, and they talked about the challenges both the Chiefs' offense and the defense presents.
Well, there's a lot of chaos. Really first, second, and third down, there's just a pretty complex pressure package that you have to be ready for, and it can overwhelm your normal protections. And so recognizing it and getting your protection right for all the different looks is a challenge. And it's a lot easier when you can get more people out in the route to get people open. And so there's always that balance between keeping guys in to protect for the quarterback and then getting guys out and getting routes that you feel like can get open. So it's a hard defense to target because they do so many different things, and so just have to be sound and execute, and hopefully you catch them in one of those overloaded pressure looks and you can get a big play. But it's a little game of cat and mouse.
He's very good at seeing pressure, and he can buy time. He takes deep drops. He's at 10 to 12 yards, on most of his drops. So it's tough to pressure the guy and to get there. Even if you have free runners, he's backpedaling and making plays on you. So you have to win with coverage and win with, Cage rushing him and keep him in the pocket and chase him and keep the coverage tight. It's really about coverage first and rushing him second. And from time to time, you bring pressure and hope you can get him off his spot. But he's difficult to pressure all the time because he can see it quickly.
Russell Wilson also added to what Coach Lombardi said, talking about what he's seen on tape from this Chiefs defense.
Their defense is flying around. They're doing a lot of great things. Obviously, Big Chris inside, he's such a talented player, one of the best to play the game. They have a good secondary, good young secondary that can really make a lot of plays, do some things. I think their linebackers are really, really talented. They run horizontally, they run sideline to sideline extremely well. They're coached extremely well. I think the other thing about their team is obviously they've been together for a while, with the defense and stuff like that. So they do a lot of good things well. I think the best thing that we can do though is we got to be physical. We got to come in the game being physical. We got to be able to capitalize on our opportunities. When they do match up and man up, and when it's there, take the easy ones too, and just don't blink. It's going to be a game that's going to go back and forth, and we got to be the ones that end up on top.
And in terms of the Broncos defense, Vance Joseph talked about how his unit will look to improve their run defense on Thursday night.
And we got to coach better, and we've got to have better fits in the run game. Again, with the jet motions and different motions and shifts, we have to get our feet in the ground and see our fits and fit it correctly. Tackling, fitting gaps, that's run defense. It's nothing special about run defense. It's about numbers and having the proper guys in the proper fits.
Plus, Coach Lombardi detailed how he hopes to see this offense be more efficient in the red zone versus the Chiefs.
I mean, as we all know, the space is a lot tighter down there in the red zone, so it's harder to get guys open. And, the run game, and when you're effective there, it's just a nice crutch in the red zone to just keep getting that ball closer to the goal line. So, the best red zone teams usually run it pretty well down there.
And last but not least, Russell Wilson talked about how this team will look to approach this Thursday night game with a clear mind.
I think that anytime there's adversity, there's always noise. Anytime you have success, there's noise. And when you figure that out, been on the side of a lot of success, and there's been a lot of noise and good things and bad things and tough things and all that stuff. And then also too, you've been on the success, now being on the side of success of not working, it seemed the way we want it to right away. You stay the course. You trust your belief in how you're preparing. You trust your belief in who you are as a team. You trust your belief in the guys around you, the staff around you, everybody, and just you go through that process and understand that just one pitch at a time. One pitch at a time. The only way if you're 1 for 4, the only way to go 2 for 5 is you go up to the plate and swing the next one. And that's the thing about baseball. And I think that's the mentality you got to have. You got to be able to have amnesia and be able to learn from the mistakes, but also continue to believe and continue to process and continue to practice at the highest level. And to be honest with you, that's what we're here for, is to be to win, and also ultimately to give our best every day. And we got to continue to try to learn how to do that every day in the midst of the storms.
Now it's time to take a look at today's injury report. Now joining me here inside the Broncos podcast studio for a game preview is Broncos lead writer Eric Delala. Eric, thanks for joining me this week. I know it's a bit of a crazy week given the Thursday night game, so appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, you got a quick turnaround, but we're ready to go. Happy to join you here.
Excited?
Yeah.
I know it's the first primetime game of the season for the Broncos, so that's fun.
That's true, yeah. I get to play in front of the country. Hopefully Broncos can find a way to get an upset, pull out a win, show people what this team is about. The good football that they've played so far. It hasn't necessarily translated to wins every time. They haven't been able to sustain it long enough, but there have been those flashes, Sid, as we've talked about. And so hopefully they can show this country what they're about.
Yep, certainly will be a tough challenge, obviously, going up against the Chiefs at Arrowhead. But I know head coach Sean Payton, we heard from him earlier in the show, talk about just how good he feels about the work the team put in this week, both physically and mentally.
Yeah, it's always big mentally, I think, to focus in and hone in on what you're doing. Make sure you got the game plan down, the assignments. Certainly the Chiefs are going to test you in a lot of ways from a Chiefs offense perspective. Their motion, it really tests you. And then defensively, they bring a lot of pressure. And so the Broncos are going to have to find a way to play good football. We heard Russell Wilson talk about having a clear mind and, approaching this game, realizing that they're going to make some plays. The Broncos are going to make some plays. You just have to find a way to come out on top of this one.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk this week, Eric, just about the mental aspect of this game. You mentioned it. Russell Wilson said they're going to approach this game with a clear mind. How important do you think that is for this team?
Yeah, really important. I mean, there's always a lot of noise when you're not winning football games. And Russell Wilson pointed out, too, that, hey, when you are winning a lot of football games, there's noise that comes with that as well, and the expectations. Certainly, he'd probably rather deal with that noise than the noise the Broncos are dealing with. I do think it's important to say that Sean Payton was asked about the upcoming trade deadline in a few weeks, and he said, we want these guys here, and so kind of get that out of the way. There's, always rumors swirling around anytime a team is struggling, but you've really got to focus in and try to put your best effort forward. And, it doesn't change the season overnight, obviously, if you're able to get a win against Kansas City. But we've talked, Sid, I do think there's benefits, right, to going down and getting a win. And that's when you end this streak that everybody keeps asking about. And even if Sean Payton says they haven't had a lot of time to discuss it, it's still being asked about. So you put an end to that. You show yourselves, hey, we can beat one of the top teams in the NFL. So there's benefit here, but it has to start with having that clear mind, like Russell Wilson talks about, having the ability to bounce back from tough plays, because those are going to happen when you play Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones. I mean, those guys make lots and lots of plays. And I think we saw against the Jets, maybe the Broncos weren't able to recapture that momentum when the Jets kind of fought back in the third quarter. And you've got to be able to go blow for blow. You got to be able to take a punch and kind of stand right back up. And those are the sorts of things I think that's part of how you learn how to win, right? And
definitely.
There's a lot of guys on this team that have been able to do that before. There's guys that are still learning how to do that, and that's going to be a part of – listen, it's going to be tough, and it'll be one of their toughest games of the year. But if you somehow go to Arrowhead and pull out a win, I think it's an opportunity for this team to learn a lot about themselves and improve and prove to themselves that they're capable of hanging with teams like that.
Definitely. And we've seen the past few years, and specifically last year, this team was pretty close to beating the Chiefs last season. So, I mean, it's doable.
Yeah. You think back to the home game, obviously Russell Wilson suffers a concussion there toward the end of the game. The Broncos at that point had all the momentum. You look back to Arrowhead last year toward the end of the year, first game under Jerry Rosburg as interim head coach, and the Broncos were leading and probably have a chance to put some distance between themselves and the Chiefs. There's that tough pass interference call on Cortland Sutton that I think people are still kind of confused here about. But yeah, they've been close, and certainly whenever you've lost 15 games in a row, which is not normal, and I think is the fourth longest streak in NFL history. It's something that certainly people, you want it to end, right? But there have been some close games over the course of that stretch. The key is, as Russell Wilson said after the Jets loss, is you just got to go make those plays. And Sean Payton said the same thing, is that being close is fine, it's great, it's good that you show flashes of potential, but at some point you got to go out there and do it and actually finish the game. And, if the Broncos come back Friday morning with a hard-fought defeat, maybe you feel better about, you go toe-to-toe with the champs and all that, but really a loss is still a loss, and the key is to go and somehow find a way to get a win and stop being close and find a way to get over the hump and end this streak and show that, hey, you can be competitive with these guys again.
Yeah. Looking at how the team could do that, I know there's just a lot of talk this week about the run defense and needing to improve in that area, Eric. So, I mean, what's the key? What's going to be the key for this defense and going up against Patrick Mahomes and that dominant Chiefs offense?
Yeah, a different type of running game, right? They run it from the shotgun a lot.
Yeah.
They'll throw quick passes that are kind of almost like runs where you just get it to these guys in space and go. So again, it's probably closer to that open field tackling. It has to be a lot better than what we saw against Miami and the way they test you. We heard Sean Payton say it's not necessarily about communication, it's just about technique and being in the right gap. And those are things that Vance Joseph talked about on Tuesday. So that's both on the coaching and on the players individually. Again, we've talked about it week after week. There's got to be the sense of pride. There's got to be the desire, the want to, all those things that I'm sure are there, but got to find a way to do it consistently. And, I think everybody outside just assumes, okay, well, just flip a switch and it gets better. Sean Payton kind of explained, well, it's harder than it may seem to get it done and to get it cleaned up, but they still got to do it, right? And we'll see if they're able to do that. Certainly, I think the emphasis, the way the last few weeks has gone, has got to be on stopping the run. And you don't ever want to, I think, dare Patrick Mahomes to beat you through the air, but you're certainly not going to win a football game like Sean Payton said earlier this week. You're not going to win a football game if you can't stop the run. And so if they're in 2nd and 2, 3rd and 1, that sort of thing, it's going to be a difficult outing for this Broncos defense. You got to find a way to shut them down in the run game and then, hopefully get some stops. Again, they're going to score points, right? This is a good Chiefs offense. You're going to have to go toe-to-toe with them. It's about getting timely stops, and that's what we saw in Chicago. Even what we saw kind of at the end of the game there against the Jets, where you didn't get a stop every drive, but you got a timely stop that gave you a chance. And this is likely not a game, right, that you're going to go in and just win by 21 points. And maybe they do that. Maybe they go in and just dominate and kind of shock the world.
Never know.
But it's likely a game where you're going to trade leads. And if you got a chance to, Sean Payton mentioned, hey, if you look at a Sunday game, 60% of the teams that are leading at halftime go on to win.
Yeah.
If you look at a Thursday game, that spikes way up. And so he talked about the importance of a fast start, but still it's going to be back and forth, and you got to stay in the game. And then you got to find a way to win it probably at the end. And we see these games every week come down to the final possession. I would assume if the Broncos have a chance to win this week, it's going to be that same sort of game where either the defense has to get a stop or Russell Wilson has to go down and get a score. And so that's where defensively, can you find a way to make that big play?
Yeah. When talking about the Chiefs offense, obviously we have to mention Travis Kelce as well.
Yeah.
Head coach Sean Payton talked really highly of his football IQ, said he's always a part of the spaghetti sauce.
He's a spaghetti sauce, yeah.
I don't know what that means, but I
But
think
you
I like it.
Yeah.
Well, hard is it going to be to try and slow him down?
Yeah, he's a good football player, right? And he's got that Taylor Swift magic right now.
I hope she's there.
Me too. That would be cool. But I think stopping him is difficult because he's always on the same page with Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
He kind of ad-libs a little bit. I think it was Vance Joseph who said, what you see on film is never exactly what you're going to get when they end up playing, because he's so good at finding holes in the defense. We heard Sean Payton talk about the difficulty of playing zone against this team because of that. And then obviously the speed and the one-on-one talent makes it hard to play man. So there's no good option. We've seen the Broncos try a number of different strategies over this stretch here with different head coaches, different defensive coordinators. But Travis Kelce has always just kind of been a thorn in the side of this team. And I think, again, with stopping the run, you've then got to find a way to slow Travis Kelce down, which is much easier said than done. And he's always finding a spot in the red zone, and Mahomes is running around, and then Travis Kelce's wide open
Making
there.
plays.
He's going to make his plays, but you've got to find a way to limit them. And I think just make somebody else in the pass catching core beat you, and maybe they will, and because they're the defending Super Bowl champs, they're a good football team. They're a really good football team. But I think if you can say as a defense, hey, week one against the Raiders, this team slowed down Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs, and does it hurt that Jacoby Myers beats you? Yeah, of course it does. But I think ahead of the game, you probably live with that. I think it's got to be the same thing here. The Broncos have to find a way to stop the run and slow Travis Kelce, and then if somebody else beats you, maybe you just kind of live with that. I don't know. We'll have to see what the Broncos' plan is, but certainly it can be demoralizing. Like, one of the things Travis Kelce does so well is it's 3rd and 11, and you think you've got him off the field, and then Travis Kelce he finds this little hole and he catches it, and then he's off and running, and it's a 30-yard gain, and
they have telepathy.
They do. They're dialed in, and it makes them hard to stop.
For sure. Well, Eric, there's always so much talk about this Chiefs offense that I feel like their defense kind of gets overlooked because they also have a really good defense. I mean, of course, Chris Jones, and their secondary's been playing really well this year as well. So I guess what's the key for Russell Wilson in this offense to try and, make some big plays? Yeah,
well, one, you gotta take some shots, I think, and hope that you hit them. You got to be good up front. The communication has to be clear, it's going to be hard there. It's going to be loud. We know how loud it is, Sid.
Gosh, yes.
Especially a night game. Those parking lots at Arrowhead, they fill up really early.
They do.
They're always full by the time we pull up in the buses, and so I'm sure they'll be ready to go for kickoff. It's going to be loud. But the communication has to be good. You have to be ready for pressure on 3rd down. I think that's what they do really well, and just kind of, anecdotally what I feel every time we go there, this last year in particular, like the Broncos have the ball with a chance to go win the game, and boom, somebody gets free and there's a big sack, and it really changes the momentum of the game.
Definitely.
Again, you've got to be able to respond from that, but can you prevent that from happening? If you get Javonte Williams back, I think that helps in pass protection. And so, we'll just have to see kind of how they're able to do that, but certainly protection has to be good, communication, and then staying out of the 3rd and longs. That was too much of what we saw against the Jets. If you can stay in 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4, you'll have a better chance, I think, than if you live in 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12. It's just a tough way to exist as an offense. And so you've got to have those positive plays. Stick with the running game. We've heard Sean Payton talk about that. Those are all ways that you can maybe offset this aggressive Chiefs defense. And again, they're not always, they're playing well this year, but they're not always the number one defense in the league, right? They make plays when they have to, and have those kind of momentum changing takeaways, certainly against the Broncos during this stretch, whether it's Tyrann Mathieu, Daniel Sorensen. I mean, you can go on and on about guys that have made plays against the Broncos, and it always feels like it's in a big moment. And you got to find a way to prevent that when the turnover battle is another one you got to keep an eye on. There's a lot to do if you want to go beat this team. But it's a good football team, but hopefully the Broncos can bring their A game.
Right. Well, last one here for you, Eric. Of course, like you just mentioned, we've been talking this whole time about how the Broncos could potentially beat the Chiefs. But if they are, what do you think that will just mean for this team and the momentum of the season moving forward?
Yeah, well, it doesn't, like I mentioned earlier, it doesn't change the overall reality of your season overnight, right? You'd still be 2-4, and it even at this point, I'm kind of at the point like you got to go prove that you can do this.
Yeah.
But if they do get that win, I think it shows this team and inspires some belief that we can compete with anybody.
Yeah.
And the home losses have been tough, and the one win comes over the Chicago Bears, who have just one other win. And so right now you're probably thinking, okay, well, can we compete with these guys? Right. And if you can go out there and show that, hey, we can beat Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, I think that gives you confidence of what this group can do moving forward. I think more kind of in a granular sense, it gives you the chance the next week with a home game against a Green Bay Packers team that has been kind of up and down this year to get back to 3-4. And maybe you don't sweep the Chiefs when they come back here in a few weeks. But at the very least, if you can kind of get yourself just around 500, you stay in the mix, you stay in the conversation, maybe you're able to find a way to go on a run later and just start building. But I think it's mainly about what it would teach this team about what they're capable of doing, and just get rid of those questions. I mean, you'd have questions in 2 weeks of, you finally beat the streak, can you keep it going?
Keep it going, right.
But at least there'd be no more.
There's always questions.
There's always questions, but there'd be no more 15 in a row, 16 in a row, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm sure that would be nice too for guys to make that stop.
Well, we'll see what happens on Thursday night, Eric. Appreciate you coming on the show today.
You got it, Sid.
Well, that'll do it for today's episode of Broncos Now, Broncos Country. Thanks so much for tuning in. There will not be an episode tomorrow given the game, so I'll meet you right back here on the Broncos Podcast Network and YouTube on Friday for a game recap.